Welcome to our PDR Live. This is Sunday, December 15th, 2024. So this morning we're going to be doing something different. I will be doing a reaction video on a Bernie Sanders interview with Meet the Press. It's been posted on the Meet the Press YouTube channel, and we're going to go to the YouTube channel soon. So there were several topics that they tackled in this interview, and I'm just going to go ahead and react. I have not seen the interview at all, so we're going to be viewing. I'm going to be viewing this for the very first time to see, what happens, and so forth. So I'll try to post a video and then have myself reacting on the bottom right of the screen, and we'll see if it works out.
Are you doing enough to get your child in? Your teenager get into a top university so that they can.
Welcome back, and joining me now is Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Senator Sanders, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Great to be with you.
It's great to have you here. Let's start off by talking about the decision of FBI Director Christopher Wray to announce his resignation 3 years before the end of his term. Do you think that that was the right decision, Senator?
Well, I'm a little bit nervous about it. When Trump talks about sending to jail people who are on that January 6th committee, that sounds like being a tin pot dictator. So I would hope that we have an FBI and a Justice Department that protects the civil liberties of the American people and does its best to protect American democracy.
Well, we know the White House is considering potential preemptive pardons of those who've clashed with President-elect Trump. In light of what the president-elect said to me, that yes, he does think that members of the January 6th committee should go to jail, do you think that Mr. Biden should issue preemptive pardons for the entire January 6th committee?
So it's just right off the bat, it's just very difficult to be trying to position yourself as the party that's representing democracy with total transparency when you yourself have pardoned your son, okay, somebody in your family. So isn't it hypocritical? The other side, and you could argue, well, the other side would do the same thing, or is thinking of doing something almost similar, but yeah, the other side is not presenting themselves as the party of democracy. They're not trying to take the higher ground. So doesn't it seem kind of hypocritical for your party? Well, at least he's an independent, but he caucuses with them, for the Democratic Party to say that they're the party of democracy.
Well, I think he might want to consider that very seriously. Look, that is an outrageous statement. This is what authoritarianism is all about. It's what dictatorship is all about. You do not arrest elected officials who disagree with you, who undertake an investigation. So all of us, and I would tell you, Kristen, I think there are a lot of Republicans. You just heard Lindsey Graham make that statement. I think that idea of Trump is not going to go very far. It is so quite outrageous.
It was notable to hear Senator Lindsey Graham say no point blank when I asked if they should go to jail. Let me ask you about President Biden's pardon of his son, Hunter. Former Biden senior advisor Anita Dunn said she agrees with the decision to pardon them. She disagrees with how it was carried out, the criticism of the Justice Department. And I want to remind you of what we heard from President Biden himself on this topic earlier this year. Take a look.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Senator, was it the right decision for the country to pardon Hunter Biden?
Well, I think two things. When you have his opponents going after his family, as a father, as a parent, I think we can all understand Biden trying to protect his son and his family.
Okay, but law enforcement goes after other people's families. So, what are you talking about? So that would not be the first time when so law enforcement goes after someone's family. That happens to many people in the country. Why is Biden so special? Why is the Biden family so special? So people, I guess what I'm saying is that people always get a raw deal from law enforcement in this country. Why should the Biden family be treated otherwise? That would have been a good question, but they're not going to ask that question, because it's a ghetto question, because I was raised in a inner city, so that's something that we see. You see it every day when who the cops go after. They just go after poor people in your communities. They never go after the wealthy people. They might from now and then, but most of the focus, the targeting, is really on poor communities in the inner cities. So yeah, so it's a raw deal. So why is this family special?
On the other hand, I think the precedent being set is kind of a dangerous one. It was a very wide open pardon, which could, under different circumstances, lead to problems in terms of future presidents.
Do you think he could hurt his legacy with this pardon, Senator?
Well, I think his legacy is a strong legacy. I think President Biden on domestic policies has been perhaps the most progressive president in American history since FDR. And I think the economy today, in many ways, is in very strong shape. But I do believe, as President Trump comes into office, we have got to understand, Kristen, and this is something I feel very strongly about, and it's not talked about enough. We are moving rapidly into an oligarchic form of society. Never before in American history have so few billionaires, so few people had so much wealth and so much power. Never before has there been so much concentration of ownership, sector after sector, power of Wall Street, and never before in American history, and we better talk about this, have the people on top had so much political power. We can't go around the world saying, oh, well, in Russia, Putin has an oligarchy. Well, we got an oligarchy here, too. And in this last election, in both parties, billionaires spent huge amounts of money to elect their candidates. Here in the state of Vermont, we believe we have town meetings, one person, one vote. That's democracy, not billionaires buying elections. Those are the issues we got to focus on. We got to rebuild the middle class. 60% of our people live in paycheck to paycheck. We're the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people. Many seniors are struggling, high rates of childhood poverty. So I look forward to working with President Trump. When he has ideas that are going to help the working class, we will vigorously oppose him if he wants to attack democracy or women's rights to control their own bodies.
And I want to ask you about one of the issues that you cited that you care deeply about. You obviously chair the Senate Health Committee. I want to get your reaction to the horrific shooting of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. Your colleague, Senator Elizabeth Warren, said this.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stewart. I believe in helping people in crisis.
So I just hate ads there, but yeah, so I think that the framing here is, my opinion, it's just misguided, in my opinion, because I think what the leftist framing should be is that we need to do more to represent the interest of the working class people. The working class people spoke out or decided to stay home in this last election. So we need to be the party of the working class people. Trump represents the billionaire class. His policies go against the working class. I think that is would be a better framing and a line of attack. I don't think that what he just said, I don't think that's going to work. Because if you can work with him on working class issues, and then people should, and if he does the right things on some issues, like the minimum wage, then why should people vote for Democrats in the next midterm election? So it's not going to help you. So, and now they're going to go over what Elizabeth Warren said about the CEO shooter.
Warren said this.
Violence is never the answer. This guy gets a trial who's allegedly killed the CEO of United Health. But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
Senator Warren quickly clarified. She said, violence is never the answer, period. I should have been much clearer that there is never a justification for murder. My big picture question for you, though, Senator, is this the right time in the wake of this horrific murder to be talking about health care policy?
Look, Elizabeth Warren obviously understands killing and murder and shooting somebody in the back is totally unacceptable. But what I think has happened.
Yeah. Elizabeth Warren wants, Elizabeth Warren wants to target CEOs. Of course she does. She wants to kill every CEO. This is not enough. We've had enough. These people in the mainstream media are crazy. And of course, this is part of the narrative. They just want to switch the conversation. They don't want people to talk about the irregularities and well, it's not irregularities, but really the criminal behavior of health insurance industries and how they deny claims and how they use the AI to reject prior authorizations. So they don't want to talk about Brian Thompson's insider trading scandal, right? So they don't want to do any of that. They don't want to go through Brian Thompson's past, through his social media posts where people were posting to him in the comments section on his LinkedIn profile, telling him that his company had denied their loved ones their claims. And these were serious claims, the people who needed operation for some type of life-threatening disease. And these were not people who were going in there criticizing him at all. They were just trying to seek help in his LinkedIn profile. But the media doesn't want to talk about that, right? They just want to focus on what the CEO shooter did, Luigi Mangione, and people's inappropriate reaction. Of course people have had enough. People are fed up, right? So people, I think what she meant to say is that people are fed up with these practices, and it's not surprising that people are they're not grieving the loss of the CEO. That's what she really meant to say, and they know that, but they just want to, they don't want to address the root cause of why people are reacting to the way that they're reacting. So it's just completely disingenuous and BS.
in the last few months is that what you have seen rising up is people's anger at a health insurance industry which denies people the health care that they desperately need while they make billions and billions of dollars in profit. So killing anybody, shooting somebody in the back who's the father of two, is outrageous. It is unacceptable. Nobody should applaud it. I know Senator Warren did not. But I think what we need to ask ourselves when we talk about health care is why we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, why we have a life expectancy which is significantly lower than in other countries, why working class people die 5 to 10 years short.
Okay, in that very same point that he just made, life expectancy, that's what the CEO shooter mentioned in the manifesto, allegedly mentioned in that manifesto. Said that we're according to him, we are number 42 in life expectancy, yet we spend the most money in the world on healthcare, and we're receiving inadequate outcomes. It's exactly what the CEO shooter, and what people don't understand, people in the mainstream media don't understand, because the people in the public, they do understand, but what the people in the mainstream media don't want to let me put it this way, they don't want to acknowledge publicly a lot, because they know all about this. They don't want to publicly acknowledge that the CEO shooter mentioning that in his manifesto is actually an indictment on the health insurance industry. So it's an indictment on, it's a poor reflection, it's a negative reflection on the health insurance industry. Because if even a killer, or a potential serial killer, because that kid could have been a serial killer, because I don't think he was going to stop with Brian Thompson. I think he had his crosshairs on other people in the health insurance industry. If even a potential serial killer or murderer understands that, and the health insurance industry is just like unmoved by that, you should see the LinkedIn profiles of this guy Brian Thompson when people were telling him how his company rejected their family's claims. You would think he would respond to the company, but guess what? I didn't see a single response from him in his LinkedIn post in the comment section. Did the guy even read the comments? So what was the whole point of him doing a LinkedIn profile, a LinkedIn account, if you're not even going to respond to a single comment? What poor customers, at the very least, give them some, at the very least say hello, give them some type of, when you walk into a Starbucks or any type of fast food joint, when you walk in, at least they say hello, welcome, something, right? It's customer service. And this guy just, like whatever, just gave them the cold shoulder. But that's the whole point, that what Sanders just mentioned is like we get bad outcomes, and yet we're spending all this money. Where's all this money going? Of course, it's going in the pockets of these CEOs that are making these enormous salaries. That guy made $10.2 million last year, sold his stock, sold 15 million worth of shares in the stock when he found out that the federal government was conducting an investigation on his company's practices. So we'll continue here.
Shorter than the people on top. So, Kristen, I feel very strongly about this. And I think the time is long overdue for us to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child, especially at a time when we're spending twice as much per capita on health care as the people of every other nation. Goal of health care is not to make drug companies and insurance companies phenomenally rich. It's to guarantee quality care to all of our people.
Let me ask you about another topic, obviously very important to working class voters. the minimum wage. In my one-on-one interview with President-elect Trump, I asked him if he would consider raising the minimum wage. It's been at $7.25 since 2009. He acknowledged it is too low, Senator. He also said it's quite complicated to raise the federal minimum wage. But do you think you can work with President-elect Trump and try to get a deal on raising the minimum wage?
I surely hope so. It is. I tried, I think 2 years ago, to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We got zero. Not one Republican supported it. We ended up with 42 votes. Look, a $7.25 per hour minimum wage is an absolute disgrace. We have millions of people in this country who are working for starvation wages. They cannot afford housing. They cannot afford to adequately feed their kids. So yes, we have got to raise the minimum wage. I would suggest to be $17 an hour, but I hope that we can work in a bipartisan way to finally accomplish that goal.
And Senator, I have to ask you about this story that has captured the country's attention, these reports of purported drones flying over New Jersey, other parts of the East Coast. A Biden administration official said, quote, there's been a slight overreaction to these reports. I wonder, what do you make of the Biden administration's reaction so far? Are you satisfied by the administration's reaction?
I honestly don't know anything more about that than what I read in the papers. Sorry, can't give you great insight on that.
Are you concerned, though?
My concern, yeah, I guess, I don't know. What can I tell you? Yes, I'm concerned.
Very quickly, RFK Jr. is going to be on Capitol Hill this week. He's talked about food safety. I know that's something that you have said you are interested in. He's also a vaccine skeptic. Senator, where are you on RFK Jr. and his potential confirmation?
Well, I think I look forward to sitting down and talking with him. Obviously, vaccines, whether it's polio or COVID, have saved millions and millions of lives, and I strongly support vaccines. On the other hand, what I will tell you, and we had a hearing on this recently, is the food industry, through their processed foods, are helping to cause obesity in this country, cause diabetes in these countries. We have epidemics in our country in terms of diabetes and obesity. And I think we got to tell the food industry, stop making our kids overweight and causing all kinds of health problems.
Are you open to voting yes on RFK Jr., Senator?
The process, there is a process. I'm going to sit down, I'll talk to him, we're going to have a hearing on it, and it's premature to say how I will vote, or I think how anybody should vote, unless you hear from the nominees.
All right, so not ruling it out. We'll continue to stay in touch with you about that and all of these other topics. Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about
Yeah, that's not what he said. He just this is a process. He didn't say he's not ruling it out. Quite interesting interview. I just feel overall that the Democratic Party and the independent Senator Bernie Sanders, they should just focus on the issues affecting working class people. All this stuff about democracy, just scrap it. Forget it. It doesn't work, so it didn't work in the last election. And besides, what else is there? You've already charged him. You already took him to court. There are 3 different cases. He was already found guilty. He's a convicted felon already. He's just not going to be sentenced. So they've exhausted all their quote-unquote administrative remedies in that area. What else more is there? There's not much you can get out of that. What else can you do? I mean, it's just such an abstract issue that people are not really going to prioritize that. Maybe middle class, upper middle class people in the suburbs, maybe, and college educated people, yes, but again, it just showed in the last election that those demographics, they're not going to help you win an election when there's low voter turnout, or at least when your base is not really coming out to vote as they should. So just try to excite your base through issues like the minimum wage, making healthcare more affordable, and of course Medicare for all would be the ultimate goal. But between now and then, maybe work on trying to reduce the influence of Medicare Advantage, because United Healthcare used Medicare Advantage to reap profits from the system, to basically rip off the federal government so they can enrich themselves. So maybe work on doing that, and making, of course, prescription drugs prices more cheaper for consumers, or do some type of program that helps poor people, working class people get stipends or some type of federal aid so that they don't have to pay out of $0 out of pocket for their prescription drugs, which might be life and death for many families. So yeah, I think in the beginning it's not so great, but later, as they talked about other issues like healthcare, minimum wage, I think the interview improved a lot. And you notice how this reporter from Meet the Press, how she tried to shift the focus from the lack of healthcare to, oh, look at people's inappropriate reaction. And this is something that the mainstream media, CNN, all the networks are doing. We try to focus attention on things that do not matter. That, oh my God, how could you say such a thing? It's so inappropriate. How could you support this killer? That's the point. That's the actual point, that this killer, right, he wrote on his manifesto that we have poor healthcare outcomes. If that guy, let's say he's a psychopath. If a psychopath understands that, what does that say about the health insurance industry? So it's just amazing, the lack of chutzpah, for lack of a better word, of the mainstream media to just act shocked and they just ignore the anger. And again, the anger that people are feeling right now, this is related to the election, and so this same liberal mainstream media just shocked that people would vote for somebody like Trump and this and that. But when the other parties just focus on democracy and they're just focused on issues that are not really affecting the average people, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get these reactions, these quote unquote inappropriate reactions that the liberal class claims. So please like the live stream, subscribe to the channel. This was a reaction video to the Bernie Sanders interview on Meet the Press that was uploaded this morning. And thank you so much for all the new subscribers. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you on the next PDR live stream.